as the military took over, Mohammed Morsi taken out of power, the Muslim Brotherhood being pushed out of power. Joining me now to discuss that and the United States Senate, especially when we see how this nuclear option, this filibuster deal, might come down. He's the president of DCI Advisory. Stephen Yates is with us. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Good to talk to you, Tony.
Hey, it's good to talk to you. You know, it's kind of hard in the aftermath of the Zimmerman trial and what we're seeing all across the country to say, okay, we got to focus on the world, but you have to focus on the world. And one of the things that we've seen is that the Undersecretary of State, Bill Burns, right? So John Kerry is too busy yachting to have any kind of concern about Egypt. But Bill Burns met with the new Egyptian president, Adli Mansour. Is that the right move to legitimize this new president?
Well, I think what I would like most of all, and I don't think my wish will be granted, is for the administration to maybe say clearly what it is we hope to accomplish in our dealings with Egypt, Syria, anywhere in that frustrated region at the moment. I mean, really, you need, before you send anyone of consequence, ought you not have an idea of what you aim to accomplish?
That would involve having a foreign policy, right?
As much of a problem with the military being in charge in Egypt right now as I would if there were an incompetent opposition in charge or an effective Islamist in charge. That would bother me more.
Do you
we
think
don't have great choices, but it matters a whole lot more what we come to say we're going to do. And I don't know that Bill Burns is a seasoned, distinguished diplomat, which means he's excellent at sharing numerous words with little meaning for a long period of time, and I'm sure they did a lot of that.
Stephen, you talk about, you don't like this military option, and it is indeed the military that took Mohammed Morsi out. Would you have rather the Muslim Brotherhood stay in charge of Egypt?
No, I say that we don't have great options, and so it's not optimal for a military to have to step in. I think in a world of bad options to choose from, the military is probably the most stable of the institutions to try to work with right now. The question is, if you have someone to work with, what do you intend to do? And that's the big donut our government has given us right now. They're sending people to have meetings, but they say they want to move toward elections that the Muslim Brotherhood will win again. What was the point of the exercise then? So I think we're very confused about what we aim to accomplish there. I think security and stability probably are things that are important to try to accomplish given the volatility of the region. How are we going to do that? Are we going to do that with giving more aid to the military? John McCain says no. I haven't heard very much from very many other people. I think that it actually, under current circumstances, is probably important to support the military. So it's a confusing mess in the region, and I don't think that Bill Burns was going to straighten it out a whole lot more. This government is a temporary one. We've been through this process once before in Egypt, and the big question is, where do we come out at the end of this second transition?
Now, you talk about the military being in charge. Senator John McCain, who never ceases to confound, he had called for foreign aid to be ended to Egypt because the military took Morsi out, but he seemed to be okay with aid when Morsi and basically the Muslim Brotherhood ran the show and took out Hosni Mubarak. Are you on the side of John McCain, Senator McCain from Arizona, that we should end foreign aid solely because of this new takeover of power, or should it be ended altogether, or should the dollars continue?
I think that we should say right now our objective is to try to have some semblance of stability in Egypt. It's a large country with a large population in a dangerous part of the world, and we have a decades-long relationship with that military that gives us a better hope of achieving that objective than we do with any of the other forces at play in that region at the moment. I would continue with the aid. I don't understand where John McCain is right now on most issues, really. I think he's in a parallel universe when it comes to looking at the Middle East. I did not understand his dalliance with the Muslim Brotherhood. I think they were problematic at best. And he and some other people like-minded seem to be perfectly fine with them winning an election that had problems and moving ahead with a foreign policy that I thought was actually hostile to ours.
We're talking with Stephen Yates of DCI Advisory, DCIadvisory.com. Let me bring you back to the U.S. a little bit, because I know you're a guy who can multitask. You can do more than the foreign policy shop that you're known for. The Senate, of course, having a direct effect on foreign policy, the negotiating of treaties, being part of their purview in terms of ratifying treaties, I should say. Harry Reid, the entire nuclear option, which is basically the push to end the filibuster and end deliberations in the Senate to try and get certain nominees passed through faster with a smaller number of votes, 51 instead of 60. Do you think that the Senate have the Republicans given in? Is this a cave from the Republicans to what Senator Reid, the majority leader, is demanding? Or is this the case where Harry Reid doesn't know how to be a leader and that this is going to bite him in the butt if Republicans win the Senate in 2014?
I think it's a huge mistake. I mean, number one, I think it's a violation of the original intent behind having a Senate and a House as separate bodies representing the country in different ways with different roles and functions. And so I think that it really shows a grave disrespect to the history of our country from the founding to the present to just look at near-term small matters of I'm not enough of a leader to convince even a few Republicans. And we know the Republican caucus is not filled with champions. There may be 3 or 4 or 5, on a good day 10, that we really like and can rely upon. But there's a lot of these guys that are gettable. And if he can't get any of the centrist Republicans or the liberal Republicans to go along on a nomination, there's probably a problem with the nomination. And so what he wants to do is to have rule by fiat or majority rule, which is the way the House operates. And there's a reason the House operates different from the Senate.
And there's a whole thing here.
I think it's an enormous error, and I hope it does blow back.
There's a whole article here, USA Today, where Carl Levin, a Democrat from Michigan, who we all know is a leftist, opposes the changing of the filibuster rules from 61 to 51. So it's not that he can't even reach across the aisle. He can't even keep the people in his own party. Stephen Yates, DCI Advisory, DCIadvisory.com. I appreciate you coming on, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony. Take care.
Much more ahead. Stay with us. Tony Katz sitting in for Dana Loesch, and this is The Dana Show.